Hey all, and welcome to Shadow of Space. And we are commenting on a BCP video. I've got a bit of a headache. This is called Bill Maher confronts Gavin Newsom to his face with brutal facts on Democrats destroying California. This was... Hold on. This was uploaded May 2nd. This is being recorded May 5th, and link is in the description.
Well, let's get the ugly news about the political violence out of the way first, because we have to talk about it. I'm just going to vomit my take on it, and then you can argue. I would just like to say, if you're one of these people, and there's many in this country who watched that and was disappointed the president wasn't killed. See, they're laughing at that. You're not a good person, or a smart person, but definitely not a good person. I was reading this in your paper, interview with Governor Pritzker of Illinois, and they asked...
Do you think it was appropriate to celebrate the death of Adolf Hitler?
him, like, well, what does the next president have to be? And he said, good, decent, and kind, which who can disagree with that? And certainly Trump has often not been good, decent, or kind.
Right, but also...
But he's not Hitler.
You can't say that you are...
Well, see, but he doesn't have to be Hitler. The point is that if someone hates you and wants you dead, then they are going to enjoy it. They are going to celebrate you dying. Whether you're Hitler, whether they think you're Hitler, whether they just think you're an awful human being. Like, if you were happy, if you celebrated the death of if you celebrated the death of Jeffrey Epstein, does that make you a bad person?
Fighting for democracy or a believer in democracy, and at the same time excuse political violence as a mechanism for political change. It's one or the other. And that's the essence of our system, that it gives us the opportunity to change things through the will of the people and not through the barrel of a gun.
Well, see, but it is through the barrel of a gun because you have outsourced your power to the oligarchy. You have outsourced part of your power to the Fed and to local jurisdictions.
And people who don't get that don't understand the basis of the system they are supposedly championing.
But many people would say that you are imitating him. You, among all the people who may or may not be running, you're the one who kind of imitates his style with the trolling. You're suing Fox now, I understand. You're suing, that's
well,
right
we're
out
going
of
into discovery. Fox better look to settle right now or apologize for defamation. But
okay, but that sounds exactly like what he does. Suing media?
Different point. Well, then don't defame, don't lie. And, Fox is a propaganda.
Okay, so when, what's his name, called Donald Trump a rapist, he should have been fired, and the whole agency should have been shut down because they were spreading misinformation, right? Or they should have issued some sort of apology. Why is it that you get to sue them for defaming you? Why is it that you get to weaponize the justice system to go after your political opponents, the people who don't agree with your political opinions and who don't agree with you politically? You're free to go after them as often as you want, as hard as you want. But Donald Trump isn't.
Sound like him.
Boy. So we gotta talk about woke California governor Gavin
Not doing
Newsom,
anything to try.
is
Not doing anything to try to unite this country. Okay, but you're not either.
likely running for president. And
As someone who considers themselves to be more right-wing, I do not feel unified with you, Gavin Newsom, probably on most
the Democrat
issues.
primary, he is going to get confronted by Bill Maher on the disasters and the failures of California. High crime, high taxation, high amount of illegals, high amount of people and businesses fleeing the state.
Hold on. The biggest reflection of this moment is the sewer that we are living in because of Donald Trump. The deviation of normalcy is off the chart. This is a guy cosplaying as the Pope, as Jesus putting his face on Mount Rushmore. None of this is normal.
High cost, high inflation, just high everything, right?
No, it's pretty
In
unprecedented, isn't
California,
it?
just a very, very, very unaffordable place to live. Part of the reason why, again, is
But,
because
I mean,
Democrats are
again, you look at the homelessness in your own state, Gavin Newsom. This was happening before Donald Trump. You can't just blame Donald Trump on this. You have had people living in your sewers the whole time, Gavin Newsom. You either don't know anything about it, or you don't know what to do about it. Or what you're doing
bad
about
at
it
governing,
doesn't
right?
do
They're very
enough.
bad at spending on infrastructure. You know, they tax people to
I mean,
death and then they spend
billions of dollars you spent on fighting homelessness, and you've still got people living in the sewers,
money on
living in
wastewater
storm
abuse,
drains.
and they can't
I
even
don't,
get a railroad built,
I don't know what progress you think that you're making, but it's not working.
right? The high-speed rail project is apparently estimated to cost hundreds of billions of dollars.
I mean, they're never gonna. You can't even solve homelessness. Do you think you're gonna build some high-speed rail system?
Despite the fact that
How?
this thing has been in the makings for a long time and nothing really has been built yet, but the costs are piling up.
Cost estimates are in for California's high-speed rail project, and it is not cheap. A new business plan says the full Los Angeles to San Francisco route could top $125
It's a lot of work that's got to get put into it.
Despite that, project leaders say they're not hitting the brakes. Capitol correspondent Eitan Wallace has reaction from Sacramento.
California's high-speed rail project. It's set to one day connect Los Angeles and San Francisco and eventually San Diego and Sacramento. In this newly proposed business plan released this year, project leaders now estimate the LA to San Francisco segment of the project will cost about $126 billion, with service starting around 2040. The goal is to get the Bakersfield to Merced section of the project up and running earlier, no later than 2033. All of it part of what officials are calling their optimized plan, one that reduces the scope of the initial proposal. In the newest optimized plan, some segments will share tracks with systems like Metrolink, and the number of tunnels on the project will, at least for now, be scaled back. Officials believe those
I mean,
changes
that's going to be the biggest thing, is not disrupting the travel that already exists via rail while you're introducing these high-speed lines
help
or
the project save
whatever.
money. Without those changes,
I don't know
they
how
say
anything
the full
works,
Los
so-
Angeles to San Francisco plan could have cost as much as $231 billion. At Wednesday's High-Speed Rail Authority board meeting, project CEO Ian Chowdhury expressed optimism, saying track laying between Bakersfield and Merced is expected to begin by the end of the year. He also praised a funding plan approved by the Democratic supermajority legislature and Governor Gavin Newsom to provide $1 billion per year for the project through 2045.
It gives us stable footing to move forward on the projects that we have currently underway.
Republican State Senator Tony Strickland says the project is unaffordable, echoing criticism from President Donald Trump, who last year pulled $4 billion in federal funding for the project.
We can't continue to spend billions on billions on a project that everybody here knows that Sacramento will never be built as proposed to the people of California.
Yeah, so you see that, you hear that. Bill Maher, who is a resident of California, is going to confront Gavin Newsom on the failures of his administration and the Democrat Party.
The other side, what they're going to say, though, is, but have you seen the stats from California?
Good.
Well, because, like, people aren't resettling after they lose their homes from the wildfires. Granted, people are coming in to buy those lots to build on them. Just money is supposedly, in a lot of these places, money is leaving. Like, where are you getting all of these funds to do this?
Well, that
Fourth
people
largest economy. Let's go.
Well,
I'm
are they
ready.
going to say good about gas prices? Are they going to say good about how high the rents are?
Yeah.
People, so many people live. I mean, there's a whole litany. I mean, the train.
I mean, California is the highest cost of living state in the union.
Gavin,
Okay, the train.
you got to get rid of the train.
The train.
I say this as a friend. You got to let that train go. You got to let the train go. It's up to 231 billion.
No, it's not. That's
Yes.
just nonsense. It's not. We're doing a $119 million segment. We got it back on track. It goes back 3 administrations. I inherited a mess. We put it back on track. All the environmental work is behind us. We're actually laying the track. All the legal litigation, all the land issues are all behind us. We're actually making this project work. And so that's a fact. Now, on the issue of California.
Right. You've been saying this for decades, right? All the environmental stuff is behind us. All the legal issues are behind us.
I have
All
no
the regulations
idea.
is behind us. It's not 231 billion. It's only 120 billion, right? As if that makes it better. This is a disaster. And what Bill Maher is pointing out is that, hey, if you run for president, Republicans are going to point to this and say, hey,
Well,
look at California.
I mean,
in fact,
the reason that it isn't as expensive as it was anymore is because they aren't doing the whole line. It's because they are basically just having it join up with pre-existing infrastructure so that they don't have to redo all of the rail in California. It really just goes to show how big of an undertaking putting in all of the rail line from the East Coast to the West Coast truly was. Putting in all the rail lines, putting in all the highways.
Republicans should be doing that anyways, right? Any Democrat. Because let's be honest, Democrats want to turn the United States into California. Everything that California is doing right now, that's the Democrat Party, right? Everything that you see in these far left liberal cities, that's what they want to do to our country. Make no mistake about it. That's exactly what they want to do. So yes, Republicans should point to California. And Gavin Newsom, he's a slick talker, right?
Oh.
He's a good used car salesman, but he's going to have a hard time selling California, right?
Well, it's been a long time coming.
Of course it has, and you can't make up for the past. I can only make up for my segment, literally and figuratively, as governor over the last 7 years. But look, you talk about California, we're the envy of the world. Since I've been governor, no other developed nation.
No, we're a fascist dictatorship that no one would want to come in their entire lives. You're one of the people who's saying that the American dream is dead, it's a lie, and that people shouldn't come here. What are you... You all just talk out both sides of your mouth. It is so impossible to know what your actual position is on any given issue.
Yeah, so why are so many people leaving, right? If you're the envy of the world, why are so many people leaving the so-called envy of the world? It doesn't make sense.
Why do you have the highest cost of living? I would imagine that someplace that people actually wanted to go was affordable and didn't have an affordability crisis. Like, all of that suddenly is gone, or it doesn't matter now. Like,
the only people coming to California are
it's
illegal.
bizarre.
That's it.
Outperform our economy. No other state has outperformed the economy of state of
I think
California.
people feel that on the...
All of them do, because they don't have as high of a cost of living as you. Like, when you have to pay more money, you have to make more money. So yes, you are making more, but your dollar costs less. You aren't making more. You're making the same amount. It's just a bigger number because its value is lesser.
You may not feel that in every way, shape, or form, but we dominate in every key industry. We dominate in manufacturing, agriculture.
You do not dominate in oil manufacturing. I refuse to believe that.
Hunting jobs, forestry jobs, more scientists, more Nobel laureates, more researchers, more the higher system.
Well, you got a state with a high population and a lot of natural resources, right? All the stuff that Gavin Newsom's talking about right now, okay, it's not a result of his leadership. It's a result of the fact that California has nice weather. They have an abundance of natural resources. They have a great location, right, geographically speaking. They have basically everything that you could possibly.
No, none of that matters because they've been having some of the worst wildfires supposedly on record in their state. And they have been these horrible disasters while he has been in office. So either he doesn't care that these things are happening, or no, he doesn't have as good of a record as he thinks he does. Homelessness, let's completely fine. You know what? He has all these resources. He still has people living in the fucking storm drains.
Ask for when it comes to
Shut
building
up.
the state, right? And
That
Democrats have ruined
that immediately disqualifies him from any positive publicity you could possibly give him. I don't get to give you an A on anything that you are doing when you have actual citizens who are living in storm drains. You say that this is all because of Donald Trump. That this is things that you inherited. Then you haven't fixed them despite your time in office. I have no idea what you think you've been doing.
Okay, the good things about California are there because it's such a good state, geographically speaking, and from a natural resource perspective. It would be even better if it had Republican leadership, right? Could people imagine what California would be if it actually had Republican leadership? Yeah, it would be the #1 place in the world to be, literally. I mean, everybody would want to be in California if it had Republican leadership.
Education, the finest in the world, more venture capital. You talk about the future, you're talking about California and AI and quantum, on fusion, on space. California is dominant. We also have seen the last 3 years population growth. We've got to update our talking points. We've seen a 9% decline in
update our propaganda, right? Update our propaganda. But again, he's not going to mention the only people moving to California are illegals. That's it.
Sheltered homelessness. Got to update our talking points. We've seen a
no. The homelessness issue is still a huge issue, Gavin Newsom. This guy's trying to pretend like, oh no, that's old news, right? We don't have a homelessness problem anymore.
Then why do you need more affordable housing, Gavin Newsom? If the problem was fixed, you wouldn't need more affordable housing because all the people would already have homes. So what's the problem?
Right, it's all fixed. It's cleaned up, right? Stop criticizing me for this. Update your talking points, aka update your propaganda. That's what he's saying here, because that's what Democrats tend to do in interviews like this, right? They tend to tell the liberal propagandist that is interviewing them what they're supposed to say, right, about Democrats. Okay, Gavin Newsom is telling Bill Maher what he's supposed to think about California, right?
60% increase in permits for housing. We've got to update talking points. I'm very proud of the state of California.
Yeah, he's trying to sell a shit sandwich. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. Nobody believes this. This is Bill Maher also confronting Gavin Newsom on some of the woke lunacy that we see in California.
I want to read a statement I read. Remember Barney Frank? He's ailing. I wanted to say, if he's watching, we love you. I used to always say he's my favorite congressman.
Yeah.
He was my favorite.
Yeah.
He said his statement, Democrats have embraced an agenda that goes beyond what's politically acceptable. What do you think he means by that? Do you think
I don't know. I think maybe talking about some of the things you've talked about for years and things that I've brought up as well, as around being more culturally normal, which comes across for some very negatively.
What does that mean?
I understand. We have to, words matter. The way we talk about things matter. And getting stuck in identity politics
too, right?
I mean, some of the policies, not all.
Is there anything you're going to say California was too far left on? Because I feel like if you don't, I think a lot of the country is not going to listen.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that, I've said this in the past, things I could have done better, more. I look back at COVID. We just put out a detail, over 1,000 pages, what we did right and wrong during COVID as it relates to the issues of outdoor and beaches being shut down, schools being shut down for too long. But we also made the point we had a lower death rate than any other large state, that our economy recovered faster than any other large state, and we had one of the fastest vaccine rollouts in the country. So there's good and bad. And on the issue of housing and homelessness, what we could have done more aggressively sooner. But on social issues, where I think you tend to be leaning in towards, I've made my point of view known as it relates to issues issues of sports and transports, which I just think it's not being transphobic to
Common
be common
sense.
sense.
Yes.
But I get how people are sensitive to that because that's been weaponized and people have been talked down to and the community's been abused by those that want to take advantage of this politically. So there's a sensitivity in all that. But look, if we're in the identity space, if we're fighting the last culture war, we're toast. And perhaps that's what Barney's referring to, and that's what you've been preaching and practicing, I think, appropriately for a long, long time.
Well,
Yeah. So to answer Bill Maher's question here, which Gavin Newsom basically didn't answer, is there anything that you have been too far left on? Well, yeah, everything, right? Literally everything. Literally everything. Notice how he claims when talking about transports, which is the main issue that Democrats have been super far left on. He says, well, it's about common sense, right? It's not, transphobic to, have common sense. But at the same time, this issue has been weaponized and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, see, this is what Democrats do when, again, they don't want to take a real position. Instead of just flat out saying, hey, yes, we're too far left when it comes to the issue of trans athletes in sports. Instead of just saying it outright, it's always this splaining, right? It's always this, well, see, I believe in common sense, but we can't be mean to people, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you really, truly, let's be real. You align far left on this issue.
It's an impossible, it's what I talked about the other day, where you can't have both things at once. You can't say that you want to be nice to trans people and say that you want them to be able to do whatever they want to do, but then say, but you can't play the sports that you want to play. You can't go into the gender specific sport that you want. Because if that's true, then you don't want them to be able to do anything they want. There are rules.
Hey, look at your record. Your record is that you allowed all this stuff. So it's just not enough to come out here and say the magic words, which they will do. You got to actually understand and pay attention to how they govern. Like, for example, when it comes to this wealth tax, Gavin Newsom is going to claim that he doesn't support it at the state level, but at the federal level, he's all for it. And it's just as bad at the federal level as the state level, to be honest with you. But again, this is what Democrats believe in.
You heard what I ended there with, the billionaire tax.
Yeah.
And I know you are against the billionaire tax. So this is interesting to people who don't live here and follow it. They would think, oh, Gavin Newsom, far lefty, he's going to be for the billionaire tax. But you're not.
Well, I think billionaires do need to be taxed more, but just not at the state level. Capital moves. And the challenge with this particular tax is it doesn't include firefighters and teachers. They're left out of the tax. It's one time. And we've already seen dozens and dozens of people leave the state. But my state of mind is crystal clear. At a federal level, the imbalance between the rich and the poor has got to be addressed. And the issue of ultra wealthy folks like Buffett.
Gavin Newsom, you have gone on record saying that there's no reason that Californians should even bother to pay federal income tax because you see a reduced return on the amount that you put in.
Folks like Bezos, folks like Bloomberg, paying 1% to 2% tax. You pay, Bill, a hell of a lot more.
I talked about it last week. They tax the shit out of us, the regular rich.
Yeah.
No one stands up for the regular rich.
No one's standing up.
Why? You should pay your fair share. Why is it that the people who are better off than you have to be more responsible, but you, who really aren't that far below them, have no responsibilities whatsoever? I mean, you're really just making the billionaires even more responsible you're really just giving them more responsibility. You're giving them more reason to make more money. You are just making them wealthier. They have to be, because the moment they can't fit the bill anymore, what do? Where does the money come from? When you have so thoroughly taxed the ultra wealthy that they can no longer afford to be taxed anymore without completely collapsing the whole economy, what do?
too. I don't understand why Democrats keep pushing this lie as if we don't have statistics. Like, everybody knows the top 1% is paying 40% of all the taxes at the federal level, right? Like, everybody knows that. But again, Democrats, instead of saying, hey, maybe we should be better with our budget, which Republicans
see,
should do.
again, who has the correct talking points? This is why no one believes anything. He says that they pay 1%. Caleb Hammer says that the wealthy people pay 50 to 60% of all of the taxes, which is true. New York had some building project that some wealthy billionaire was funding, decided he was going to get rid of his funding, he was going to withdraw his funding, he was going to cancel the project because of this ultra wealth tax. He is literally building a building. These people build hospitals, and you say that they don't contribute enough. You're insane. You are retardedly insane.
You as well too. Let's be honest, okay?
I can tell you what, the homeless person who's living in the storm drain, they aren't building their own house. They aren't maintaining the infrastructure.
Sides are guilty when it comes to that. But instead of, hey, let's find a way to spend money more efficiently.
They aren't building hospitals. I can guarantee you
let's
that.
Keep taxing people. Let's tax quote unquote wealth, which again always starts out for the wealthy.
They're just doing it so they can put their name on the side of the building. No, they're doing it to build a hospital, you stupid fucking moron. Right. Holy shit.
But see, here's the thing. The ultra wealthy, even at the federal level, even at national level, can still flee. Right? They can still flee. There are other things they can do. And that's what people got to understand. It always starts with, hey, we need to tax the wealthy more. And it always ends with the middle class actually picking up that tax because that's who it's really for. That's where a vast majority of the money that they can take is from, right? That's where it comes from, to be honest with you. You cannot afford socialism without taxing the middle class heavily, right? And that is my biggest gripe with these Marxist politicians, these socialists, is that they lie about how affordable socialism is. Socialism, no matter what, requires heavy taxation on the middle class. You can't have it. I don't care how much, quote unquote, tax the rich. You cannot have the socialism that these people want without heavy taxation on the middle class, okay? That's my biggest gripe with socialists. At the end of the day, they should just be honest, right? Be honest. Your socialism is not going to make people's lives more affordable. Not for people who work, right? Not for working people. No. For people who want to work hard, right? Who want to get ahead. No, you're not going to make their lives more affordable. You might make the lives of people who don't work as much more affordable, right? Who are more dependent on the system more affordable. But for society...
See, but there is no affordability. That's a lie. If you live in a state where all of your resources are just collected and doled out by the government, none of this matters.
Oh no, it's not affordable.
There are no ultra wealthy.
You're just transferring wealth. That's all.
There shouldn't be,
right? You're taking from others and giving to other folks, and that's not making everybody richer. That's not making everybody better off.
No, that's making the richer people poorer, and it's making the poorer people. I mean, technically, it's making them richer, but it's not making them rich. It's putting them at the same level that the middle class people are.
You're just taking capital from people who actually, do productive things with
it's
capital.
Redistribution.
People who are not as productive with it. And that creates inefficiencies. And that's the biggest issue here. That's what Democrats don't understand. That's what Marxists don't understand.
And two with the point. So for the ultra wealthy, we've got to deal with a stepped up basis. We've got to deal with the fact that we're not taxing capital gains at income tax or ordinary income. We got to address the fact they're borrowing against tax about their capital gains, and they're passing on these massive trusts without any taxation to the next generation. All of that needs to happen, but this particular tax is not the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see, now you heard that. Gavin Newsom here playing a game, right? Playing a game. We're going to see if it works out. We're going to see if the far lefties get on board with Gavin Newsom and what he's selling. But the rest of the country who understand this game should not, right? Nobody should be fooled by Gavin Newsom's slick talk, right? Pretending to have common sense on issues like, trans athletes in sports or whatever, and then, talk about, well, I really don't want to tax the wealthy. I don't really want to do a wealth tax. I just want to go after the wealthy in other ways, right? I want to make them pay their fair share. All that is just code for he wants to.
No, it's the same argument that they use to justify political violence. Well, I would never condone political violence. But those people over there, they'll do it. They might be doing it, but I don't endorse what they're doing. Yes, you do.
Tax the middle class more, because that is what ends up happening, right? You can't afford what these people want without heavy taxation on the middle class. When you understand that, then you understand what they mean when they say they want to tax the rich, right? Shout out to Bill Maher for actually confronting Gavin Newsom on the failures of his state. Let's hope that the American people don't fall for it. But
I don't know. I saw the clips. He didn't really push back a whole lot. He asked a question. Gavin Newsom kind of bantered for a while, and then he kind of just moved on. I don't know. Shouldn't have sworn. I'm sorry. My head still kind of hurts. I don't know. See, I don't know what to think, because always there are two completely opposing narratives. Wealthy people, at this point, I have 3 different data points. Do they pay 1% in taxes? Do they pay 60% in taxes? Or do they pay 40% in taxes? I have no idea. There are 3 completely conflicting data points, and all of them paint a different picture. One of them says that they pay nothing. One of them says that they pay more than any other class of people, and the other one says that they don't pay all of them, but they definitely pay more than most of the other classes of people, like singularly. Like, if you take that other 60% and you divide it in half between the middle class and the lower class, then they are paying more in taxes than either one of those 30% groups, singularly. So which is it? And this isn't something that you can just say, well, let's agree to disagree. No, we can't agree to disagree. Either they pay nothing in taxes and they should be forced to pay more, or they are paying their fair share in taxes, and the idea that just taxing them more is going to solve all of your problems is delusional fantasy nonsense. It can't be both of them at once. It can only be one of them. They are either paying 1% or they're paying 60%. These two things cannot be true at once. Well, they're paying 1%, but that 1% is actually 60%. No, it's not. It's either 1% or it's 60%. Two things can be true at once. It's so stupid. That's so dismissive. Well, there's no reason that we have to actually conclude any of these things. We'll just keep them unresolved so that we can continue to not know what's real. Maybe if we just had clear facts? No one knows what the facts are. There are 80 trillion different opinions about what the facts are, because no one actually cares what the truth is, and they all care about their own personal opinion about what they think the truth is. This is the problem when you live in a nation that values free speech, is the people who don't objectively look at reality have the ability to attempt to persuade large swaths of people, hey, the information that they're saying over there is a lie. They can say the earth is flat. They can say that having children is one of the worst evils that you can accomplish as a being that lives and exists. They can say that a zygote in developing inside of a womb is not alive, not legally alive. Like, at that point, like, is anything alive? How do you define it? Just, there are no answers. They're just random people's opinions that aren't backed or justified or based off of anything. It's just their personal opinion. That's why I don't have firm beliefs. I don't tell you what to think. I give my opinion. I give what I think. You can agree with what my opinion is. You can agree with what I think, but I'm not going to tell you this is what's real. I'm always going to say I think this is real, or I'm going to end the statement with I don't know. Because I don't know. I have no idea. Most of this shit is probably going to go right over my head. But if you believe in a state that allows people to express whatever opinions they have, no matter how twisted or against the status quo or inhumane or inhumanitarian the statement is, then I get to be on here and I get to say what I want. In the same way that Gavin Newsom gets to go on Bill Maher and spew all these talking points that may or may not be true. I don't know. I don't live in California. I couldn't tell you if the things that Gavin Newsom has done in his tenure as governor of the state have actually helped the state or not. I couldn't tell you. So, what even is the question? Confronts him on brutal facts? What do I think about the things that Gavin Newsom had to say? I don't know. People have talked about the high-speed rail, but it's going to be expensive. I don't know. I have no idea what you should think about what he said, because I have no idea what's actually going on.